Hello, everybody, and welcome to the White Hatter YouTube News Show. I'm Brandon.
I'm Darren.
On the show today, we are talking about a couple very interesting topics. We are talking about FBI documents showing what they can collect from messaging apps.
We're going to have some good discussions on
We're talking about crime prediction software.
Oh, that's going to be good.
We're talking about Meta Facebook having new tools to remove
I think
photos.
this is a positive. Yeah.
And same as Twitter as well.
This one's a positive, but I think there's going to be some unintended consequences that we're going to talk about.
So let's get straight into the show, shall we?
In the news.
First news topic, FBI document says the feds can get your WhatsApp data in real time. Leaked revealed FBI documents internally show that there's some tools, a document showing lawful access to, I know, right?
Lawful.
To certain messaging apps in terms of what the FBI can and cannot collect and what they can legally collect from these apps.
Okay.
So WhatsApp,
owned by Facebook or Meta.
was shown to be the most leaky.
When you say leaky, though, you mean by way of warrant. It's not as if they're able just to go in without a warrant and get it. They need a warrant to get the information, right?
Basically.
Okay.
But that's a simple phone call.
Yeah.
We'll provide more. So they provide more data to potential requests than any other platform, and that can include things such as address book of contacts. Yeah. So because, when you download like a Facebook app, it'll always ask you, find your friends and share your contact list with us. That's on your phone. So you share that, goes to WhatsApp, which now stores your contacts on their phone, which can be recovered. So that's something.
But just on a side note there, that's another reason why we share with people. Like, there's a lot of apps and social networks you go into where they say sign in via your Facebook account. No. Right? Don't do that. Don't share that information with Facebook, right? Because as soon as you do that, you're sharing that with Facebook or Meta.
Yep. And then in addition, it has metadata around messages in terms of who you're sending it to, how long you sent it to, like all that other data around. Right. Not the message text
That's
itself.
That's what my next question. So can they actually read the text?
No, not the text.
Okay.
But everything else around the text, such as who it is, who your contacts are, and apparently with WhatsApp via their pen register, every 15-minute updates. So not quite real time, but pretty close that you can get.
Yeah. So I mean, the issue is that if you're using WhatsApp, just be careful about what you're saying. If it's private discussions, and I'm not saying with the criminal element, because the criminal element we know will abuse anything that is good anyways to their advantage. But for us mere mortals, non-criminals, as I like to call ourselves, if you're using WhatsApp, just understand it's not private. What are some other privacy apps that people can use?
Well,
the reduces the risk.
The document also showed Apple iMessage.
Yes.
That was involved in the report as well. And they were kind of the second leakiest. And what I mean by that, in that, yes, it's encrypted, but Apple holds your encryption key. So there have been issues in the past, which has been revealed in court documents, where law enforcement agencies have requested the encryption key from Apple, which they know, and then the iCloud can be accessible.
So what about something like Proton email or
Signal?
Signal is another good
Signal
one?
was addressed here, and it was preting much you can't get a whole lot of data. You can get, I believe what the report showed, provides only the date and time someone signed up for the app, and when they last logged in. Right. That's all you get from Signal.
That's why that's why we know that, again, I'm thinking back 6 years when I was in law enforcement, we know that the criminal element was moving more to Signal or a device called Phantom Phone. The Phantom Phone? I just watched a documentary on that. It was actually created by a guy in Vancouver. Canadian created it, right? And he's now doing 11 years in jail in the United States because he was selling the Phantom Phone to like the cartel and the criminal element, right? Knowingly, because obviously this is one of the issues that law enforcement has flagged, is that as we move to encryption, it is going to make it much harder for law enforcement to see what the criminal element is doing, because the criminal element will use encryption to hide.
Yeah.
Right? So, but this is an interesting one. Sure.
So Signal is, if you're looking to have private communications, Signal's probably your best bet, because in their internal documents, they're like, this is all we get.
Yeah, for sure.
So, all right. Speaking of law enforcement, crime prediction software promises to be free of bias. New data shows it perpetuates them.
What do you mean by perpetuate?
So basically, in areas, so here's the report. It's a big article from Rolling Stones. Between 2018 and 2021, more than 33 U.S. residences were potentially subject to police patrol decisions directed by a crime prediction software.
All right. So I can speak to this to a degree because I dealt with this. in the police department, when I retired, we were using something called CompStat, originally developed in the US, but then taken on here in Canada. Primarily Vancouver PD is the leader, still is the leader in it. And what CompStat did is it took statistics, crime statistics being reported in, and then they had crime analysts, which are human beings, that they would look at the crime statistics and basically create these heat maps to let us know what areas of the jurisdiction that we were policing, Greater Victoria and a township of Esquimalt, where we were seeing a spike in specific type of crime. So a good example, it would show us where we were seeing an increase in theft from autos or theft from autos, right? And
so specifically to certain issues.
Specific issues, right? So, and then what we would be able to do is it would be able to show us, between Wednesday and Friday nights, between the hours of 1 a.m. and 3 a.m., this is where a lot of the theft from autos or theft from autos was taking place.
Right.
So what we could then do is we would do two things. We would put our bait car into that area, hoping that the suspect would hit the bait car, or we could put resources into that area, like undercover operators, to see if we could find the individual responsible. And a lot of times it worked quite well, right? Where we were able to take the limited resources that we had, because it would be really nice to be able to apply policing resources equally to all districts. But the reality is such that in today's world, you just can't do that. So we, law enforcement agencies, we had to take the minimum resources we had at the time, which are even less today, and be able to target them in a proactive rather than a reactive way. And so that's how we would use it. But the danger of programs like this is garbage in, garbage out. Right.
Yeah.
If the program is taking all kinds of garbage in, then it's going to spit out garbage out. And so that's why just depending upon a program in and of itself to dictate the resources of law enforcement is not necessarily in the best interest. I still think that you have to have a human element built in there to be able to separate the garbage in from the garbage out.
Yeah, and I think from the article there were some good quotes talking about, there's no such thing as crime statistics. There's only crime reported statistics, which in of itself is a whole psychology in terms of who reports. And there's studies showing, people of certain economic statuses and their likelihood to report crime or not, which then can further perpetuate biases.
You know what, though? I get that there's, maybe it's jurisdictional dependent. Because I found, like in the city of Victoria that I policed, we had neighborhoods that were, upper middle class, very wealthy area. I'm thinking the Rockland area of Victoria, right? Yeah. And then we also had low socioeconomic areas. And I found that people who were being targeted for crimes in the higher socioeconomic areas would report the crimes just as much as anybody else, right? Like, I didn't really see a difference at all. Now, I'm not saying that you can say that for all jurisdictions, but maybe it's jurisdiction, maybe it's country specific. I don't know. But I didn't see that in my 30 years in law enforcement in Victoria. I kind of liked the CompStat model to the degree where it did give me, as a watch commander who was looking at the limited resources I had, if I saw that there was like a really good example, we were having some major theft from coin-operated devices in a specific area of Victoria between certain hours and certain days. So I was able to flood that area with specific units, and lo and behold, we found the suspect. He was arrested right in that area at the time that was predicted.
Yeah, but I like what you're talking about with the software and the systems you were using in place, is that you were only looking at coin-specific challenges.
Yeah, I mean, crime stats, you get all kinds of crimes coming in, but you would look at them and kind of make a decision. Like, if it's one or two crimes, is that a big of a deal? It is to the person who's victimized, don't get me wrong. But if I see a whole cluster of things going on in one area, well, then it makes sense to me that that's the area that I want to concentrate on, right? With my limited resources from a proactive rather than a reactive standpoint. Because in today's world, a lot of police departments are more reactive given demands on resources than they are proactive, right? They're basically putting out fires and then moving on to the next fire, right? So they don't have a lot of time to spend on preventing crime, or looking at it from a proactive rather than a reactive standpoint. So to a degree, I understand what they're saying here, that we got to be very careful about allowing these programs
just to make decisions for you. Like, oh, there's a lot of crime here, even though it could be just garbage crime.
Correct.
And then you're going to put people and resources in that area, even though the resource data you gather is garbage.
Right.
And I think that's what we're looking at.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. All right. Meta
this is
taking new steps to detect and prevent the spread of revenge platform.
This is a good idea.
So today, last week, Facebook announced, Facebook announced they are supporting and partnering with Stop NCII, which is Stop Non-Consensual Intimate Images.org, which is run by the UK Revenge Porn Helpline. Go figure, another
great thing
UK
out of the UK
resource.
Right? Like it's amazing when we're looking at privacy, safety, security. A lot of it is coming out of the UK right now. Why? Because of their privacy laws that they got in place there compared to here in North America, right? Like it's just amazing. I think this is a great idea. So what else is going on with this?
So what this program's looking to do and what this service is offering is with this organization, they are integrating directly with Facebook Meta. So their products such as Facebook and Instagram specifically, and then they're looking to obviously work with other big social media companies in the future. Now this applies to all ages. If there's a non-consensual intimate image of you that you know is being shared, what you can do is you can create a case file through their system, and if you have to have the photo in your possession,
right?
And then you don't upload the photo to them. Your system does it locally on your device.
Right.
It will generate a hash, and we talked about those before in the
past.
What's a hash? Hash is a unique code.
Is it something to eat?
Yum. No.
Yum.
What it does is it creates a code. It analyzes the picture, and it has specific codes in it, and that a picture has data in it.
Yeah.
The colors in a picture is
megapixel, millions of pixels, and right, it's all hashable.
And the unique formation of those pixels and data creates what's known as a hash.
So think of the hashtag like a fingerprint. It's unique to that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what works from there is then the service then receives the hash, and then Facebook and Instagram, it will scan its systems for images that relate to that hash.
So again, they're not sending the picture to Facebook.
No, you do not send the picture to them.
Yes. It is only the hash is sent, the fingerprint is sent to them, and then they basically take the hash of the fingerprint and then look at their systems to see if that fingerprint pops up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good idea.
And then the onus is on Facebook and Instagram in order to then make a decision to find the images and remove the images.
Good move. The Canadian Centre for Child Protection, through their Arachnid program that they have, they kind of do the same thing. We've sent a couple of clients their way with youth under the age of 18 whose pictures were starting to pop up. And so they kind of do the same thing. They take the picture, they hash it, and then they put it on Arachnid to scour the open web looking for it, to see it and stuff. But, Project
Arachnid more so focuses on children, right?
Youth, those under the age of 18, not adults. What I like about this one is it works for adults and youth.
They do suggest for youth going to different services, which I assume have more immediate reactionary responses.
Yeah. This is a great idea because we've worked with a number, because we offer a program where we do takedowns, right? Where we've assisted several adults in getting pictures and videos that were posted without their consent publicly on websites, right, to get them down. So this, I think, is just an excellent resource. I'm hoping that maybe this will start to reach around the world, and I hope it does for them.
The website doesn't specifically indicate you have to be a UK citizen.
No, but I would think it probably
does, but I mean, I don't.
A great idea. Again, out of Great Britain, right? Like the UK and what's going on over in Europe on these issues. And again, it's because of GDPR and all the issues over there. I mean, and the reality is that there's so much light being shone on, Meta, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Snapchat, TikTok, that like it or not, they're having to deal with these issues. So it's kind of nice to see that we're starting to see these issues. It's taken them long enough to do it, but at least something's now taking place. So I actually think this is a good idea.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Speaking of having photos removed,
this one's interesting.
Twitter has updated its terms of service and policies to include media of private individuals without the permission of the person depicted.
So, I brought this to your attention, and I was thinking about it strictly. You thought about it differently, which I appreciate. But I brought this to your attention because I thought this is a good way now to deal with cyberbullying, right? Where maybe somebody takes a picture of you without your consent and then is using it as a weapon to weaponize it for the purposes of public shaming. This is a really good idea to have that picture taken down because, again, there is no law in Canada that prevents me. If you're outside walking around a public place and I walk up to my cell phone and I take a picture of you, record you, and then post it publicly.
And that's most areas here in North America.
It's not illegal, right? But if if it breaches terms of service because it's being weaponized and used for the purpose, I I think this is a great idea.
Well, Twitter already has a policy about weaponization.
Right.
Like that's already against the rules.
Right.
This is any image.
Yeah, this
like
is
if you're just walking down the street and someone takes a picture of you and posts it on Twitter, you could, in theory, go to Twitter, submit a case, and have that photo removed from their account.
Not such a bad thing, but
Yeah. Now they do clarify exclusions include public figures and events that are significant to the public
actors,
interest.
Yeah.
So I think it's couple things that where my mind goes with this is
where his mind goes with this.
I'm just saying.
Your mind has a tendency to go to very interesting
What?
Just saying.
All
So
right.
where did your mind go?
So first thing I thought was, okay, this is great. We see a lot of people using social media to call out challenges, to call out exploitation, fake news.
Racism.
Yeah,
right.
we see it happening.
Gender biased abuse, hate crime. Right. We see that being used a lot. Right.
So, in that, this applies to everybody. So if there's someone you see in public, and they're doing something you know they shouldn't be doing, and you take a picture of them, they didn't give you consent to do that. You then post it on Twitter to go, hey, this person did something. Look, they're doing this thing right here. They could have that taken down.
Yeah, it's
because this policy applies to them too.
The other thing that's going to be interesting, to be very honest, how is Twitter going to keep up with the request to take this thing down?
When Twitter opened back up with the verification process, it shut it down because they were flooded with verification requests. How in the world are they going to any private picture of you that you don't consent to?
It's going to be interesting, right? Like, it's going to be very interesting to see.
Maybe this is just a PR stunt in order for people trying to make Twitter seem it's more user friendly.
Maybe. I do think, from a weaponization standpoint, where people are taking these pictures and weaponizing them and using them against her, I think it's a great idea.
But that's already against the rules.
I know.
Now this is more globally in that there's no yes or no's around it.
Yeah, and I think it's just like, especially for kids. Kids can be brutal to one another, right? They really can. So can adults. Don't get me wrong.
Now, this is only Twitter, right? Like,
yeah, just Twitter.
If someone posts something on their own website and it was taken in public, even if you didn't consent to it, it can be there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this may...
Now, if you're using the picture for the purposes of making money, there's an issue there. Right?
It's a gray area.
Yeah.
It's very gray because technically...
There's a good case out of Toronto right now where a Toronto lawyer whose picture was being used to make money for a large vendor. She sued and she won.
Oh, like that case. Yeah, totally. Like someone's intentionally going, here's a picture. I know what you're talking about. That's very clear. But I'm talking about like if you are out in public and let's say you're a social media content creator and your whole gig is making money off content and you're taking pictures out in public and making money off of that. Yeah. Does that count? It's a very gray area.
But if I take a picture of you in public with a Coke, with a can of Coke, and then I'm Coke and I go, ooh, I'm going to take that picture and I'm going to use it in an advertisement.
That's different. Yeah. But then again, Facebook, social media makes money through advertising off any picture you post. So, I mean, there is a gray line in terms of making money.
When you sign the terms of service, if you actually read it, most of these sites, you sign over the copyrights to any picture you're posting.
Yeah, they have worldwide exclusive access.
Yeah.
So,
sorry. But
also, Twitter or Facebook has in their policy, if you're another Twitter user, it's also the same thing.
Oh, really?
So if you have a Facebook account and someone's using your media, technically they can do that given the terms of service. It's weird. It's a weird wording, but anyways. So this is interesting. We'll see how this turns out. We'll see if they can actually fulfill the requests. This doesn't count.
This one I'm going to watch. This one I'm going to watch and see how it goes.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting. It's kind of like you say when they were moved to the verification, they shut down, because of the number of requests that came in. So it'll be very interesting. What else?
And that's our show.
That's our show. But
that's not all.
We got a couple announcements, right?
Yes, you do.
Last year, we worked with Mrs. Santa Claus and the elves, and we were able to beam in Santa from the North Pole through the White Hatter studio to kids so that kids can meet Santa online virtually to share their Christmas list with Santa. Well, guess what? Mrs. Claus and the elves connected with us again, and they said, hey, listen, can you guys do the same thing? I said, yeah, we can do the same thing. So this month, on December 11th and 12th, Saturday and Sunday, the 18th and 19th, Saturday and Sunday, we are going to be hosting Santa virtually here through the White Hatter studio, and between the hours of 12 and 4 p.m. So parents and caregivers who are watching, if you've got kids and they can't make it to go and see Santa because it's still the COVID things that are going on, well, guess what? You can have them meet Santa right online. So to do that, parents can connect with us on Facebook, send us a private message, and then we will work with Mrs. Claus and the elves up in the North Pole to set a time, a date, and then we will actually send you the link, the video link. So all you need to do, click on it in the time that it was agreed upon, and boof, your kids can have a virtual live meeting with Santa.
Very cool.
Cool.
And the next announcement is
excited.
We now have live our third video on demand White Hat program available for parents and caregivers. Yeah,
we've heard clearly from parents, because a lot of our presentations, they're group presentations, right, with schools or family groups and that kind of stuff. There's a ton of parents out there where maybe their schools aren't bringing us in, their kids aren't going to school, they don't have access to what it is we're doing from a group perspective. So they said, hey, listen, White Hatters, can you do something for us so that we can watch it privately together as a family in our home? Well, guess what? This summer you did that. You started with, you have one for age groups 9 to 11, and then you have a second one for age groups, grades or ages 12 to 13. And they are a cross between Bill Nye, the Science Guy, meet Alton Bolton, the Food Channel.
Alton Brown, yes.
Yeah, Alton Brown, the Food Channel. Like, it's unbelievable what you've done, right? And then you've just created another one for the parents and caregivers as well. So again, if you're a parent or caregiver and your school or PAC hasn't offered the group one for parents, you can now watch it privately, and all of them $15.95.
And PACs in parent groups can then, instead of coming in live, if timing doesn't work or it's outside the resource budget, they can be streamed as a pre-recording to groups as well. Yeah,
the price is a little different when we're doing groups. But for individuals, like if you're a family and you want to sit down with your child who's 9 or 11 together and watch Brandon's program, you can do that. $15.95, 24-hour download, and you can watch it as many times. Or if you're a parent and you have a child who's 12 to 13 years of age, you can do the same thing. Or if you're parents, caregivers, grandparents, and you want to watch a video on demand specifically designed for parents and caregivers about raising kids in today's on-life digital world, we've got a program for you, $15.95.
Yep. And it's not like it's a talking head per se, in that it isn't edited with all our cameras produced. The
kids
recording.
Ones are, you got a lot of special effects. Like, it's amazing.
They're definitely a lot more entertaining. Yes.
And then the parents one is more of a, it's more of a like a documentary kind of style. Multiple camera shots. It's not a talking head in front of a green screen. Boring, right? That's not what it is. So check it out. You can find those on our website, which is
whitehatter.ca.
whitehatter.ca, and just look under video on demands on the top there. You'll see it. Click on it. It'll take you right there.
And
easy to download.
That's our announcements.
Yeah.
Thank you all so much.
Great show.
We'll see you all next time.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.